Good evening. Hey guys. Hello.
Hi, good morning, Lee.
Diraj.
Hi everyone.
There he is. Nunix.
Who, Lee?
Raj. The Darth
Yeah.
Nunix. Mr. No nonsense, no, all monkey business, Raj. That's how it's. I think we got a nickname for you already. Nice. Oh, this is great. I think I've started a little bit of a bad habit myself. I'm starting to become about a minute late to the call. That's a nasty, nasty habit to start. It's a slippery slope. So, oh, good. Okay. Let's grab the link to the meeting minutes and pop it into the chat so that all can participate in the meeting minutes, just like everyone participates in all the projects. The meeting minutes are a collaborative effort. As we go to kick off the call, I think only one housekeeping item, and that's a reminder that I try to remember to give often, but I don't think I do it consistently, and that's just to say that much like other open source communities, this is an open source oriented project and community here, and so we record our community meetings and put them up on YouTube, and so you use your swear words as you will. There is no editing going on. Anyway, point is, it's recorded, so I think everyone knows that. Okay, 3 minutes after. I expect we'll have a couple more folks joining. Just as we go to do that, Chandresh is with us today, and so is Manish. And so are a bunch of other folks, but I'm calling out Chandresh and Manish specifically just to be able to say, hey guys, if you haven't had a chance to introduce to some of the others on the call, this is an opportune time to just introduce yourself real quick and say hi, get connected. If you're inclined to, please do.
Hello everyone, myself Manish from Gwalior, India. Hi.
Hey, Manish. Oh, very good. Very, very good. Okay. And Manish, are you, say a little more if you would, are you currently studying? What's your focus?
Yeah, I'm currently studying. I'm in second year.
Awesome.
In information technology, BTech in information technology.
Oh, very good. Okay. Nice. We've got some other second years here, if I recall. So, Gunjan, you're also in your second year, right?
Yes, sir. I'm also in second year.
Gunjan's been tossing up. It's been a little bit hard to keep up with some of your PRs, Gunjan. I think you've got a good one to demo today. Actually, I would encourage you to show people the multi-language support. I think that's cool.
Yes, sir. And one more thing, I want to show the tagging, block tagging, and the tag cloud. But it is not complete yet. I am facing some issue, but I want to show those issues today.
Nice. Okay.
Then I will. Yes.
Very good. And then Chandresh, I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're able to talk, if you're inclined to say a few words, that would be great.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Good evening. So this is Chandresh. I've been working with Paytm, as big folks in India know Paytm about. I'm in Bangalore office, and today I had a very long discussion about Istio and service mesh. Very hectic meeting today, And end of the meeting, we decided that we are going ahead with Istio, so which is good news for me.
Cool.
And one thing that you can learn from me is that some of the folks who are studying in college, that I can help you out to understand the actual production enterprise use case of service mesh and how they are helping as a developer community across the globe. So yeah,
Oh, that's
it.
yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Maybe if I may, the discussion that you were having today about whether or not to use a service mesh and which one to use, what, why, what, how, what were the most compelling reasons to use a mesh, and then the most compelling reasons to choose Istio?
So we did give a much thought to the comparison to multiple service meshes. The was whether we should move it to Istio or not. That was the agent of that meeting, and team is working around the clock on business problems. So it was easy. So my focus was to let them not focus more on the observability part of it and the routing part of it and A/B testing part of it. Along with the circuit breaker. So there was use case where we have to write script or code in Java using Strix or some other language or some use of the libraries. So keeping those in mind, it was the right decision, and we were already on Kubernetes. And managing services is going to be difficult, families to keep on growing. Right now, we are breaking monolith into small chunks. And Lee, you already know about the domain design language. So we are trying to follow that. And that's the reason that we started moving. So the goal was we were on-prem and VMs, we were using Nginx. And we kind of, on container, we want to use Envoy. And Envoy was better when we decided, okay, anyway, we are closing on Envoy as an organization. So it's better to go with Istio. Let's give it a shot, how it goes. We did a POC, we find the results pretty well. No latency differences that we found. And that's the main compelling reason. So let the developer not worry about the observability part of it from day one and let them focus on the business ask and the development and the security part, which was coming along with Istio, was the need for us.
That's fantastic. I'm just taking some note. I'm putting some words in your mouth in the meeting minutes. It kind of it's a, I don't know. Maybe it sounds cliche or maybe it sounds too abstract, but yeah, when you take a lot of the different reasons and justifications behind your team, your organization choosing to use a service mesh, is that many of them distill down to speed, or rather, so it's the uniformity of observability. It's allowing developers to ignore to expect more of their infrastructure, to ignore having to focus more on application specific logic. Um, that's interesting. Were you guys, so you'd said in your VM environment, it was more of a use of Nginx. And I guess I was going to ask, was your consideration of moving to Envoy really just part of this same conversation, or was that a sort of a separate decision that you'd already made that you wanted to do a switch there as well?
It was part of the same conversation. We were facing difficulties with Nginx, and because we were only using open source, so it was too closed environment product, and we had to write Lua script to get certain information out of it. Then we wanted to using Kubernetes, and we decided, okay, what can we do to have something open source so that we can extend according to a use case? And Envoy was the reason that we chose, and we were supposed to start with Envoy with the Envoy control plane and everything, but then we realized that okay, there's other bigger use case that might come up, and we might move to the cross cloud also. So if we can use, and Istio was the one which was, I have worked with Istio in past, so I had a fair bit of understanding and internal architecture, how it works. So that was the knowledge, it was another part to moving from Nginx to Istio, and along with the extensibility part of it, so that we can also contribute, and we can, if things doesn't work well, we can use and we can implement them. Speed, we haven't done a performance testing on speed of Nginx and Envoy, so that is still on focus right now. But what is the expectation from day one with Nginx and Envoy was the things should work smoothly. There has to, along with, if you're getting add-ons, that is good, but Envoy shouldn't break the existing production. If you are going ahead and give it a try. So these are the key points were in part of the discussion. The deep dive to Istio and Envoy is not yet discussed. Maybe once we start understanding more and more. Our team doesn't have much information about Istio and Envoy. There's a couple of folks who understand Envoy and Istio. So that is, again, it's a part of process and work in progress. So the decision factor was just that majorly it was driven because of Kubernetes and Istio is the great combinations. And the folks haven't tried Linkerd and any other service messes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Totally. That all resonates with me. I'll toss this in. Just this may just naturally happen to the extent that your team ends up doing an evaluation of performance of speed between Nginx deployments and Envoy deployments. I hope that Meshery is helpful in that regard, and actually to the extent that you identify it as not being helpful, then those are great use cases for us to consider, for us to, because
So sorry to, disturb, but I think Ali,
yeah,
what Chandresh, if I understood correctly, Chandresh was probably Nginx as an ingress device in the Kubernetes, and they are probably planning to completely move to the mesh service mesh, Istio based. So are you saying that, okay, with the Meshery will be like, we don't have, but we can do some this kind of comparison, that one mesh versus the just ingress, how it is?
yeah.
Proxy acting as an ingress.
Yep, you're right. That is what I was saying, and it is probably not horribly obvious that Meshery facilitates a broad array um, of performance tests across different configurations. It's 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 also maybe not obvious in Meshery, but there's one piece of functionality that Meshery does that doesn't require a connection to Kubernetes or to Grafana or Prometheus, or a connection to a service mesh or anything. Actually, and it's actually the performance testing bit. It's the load generation component.
Yeah.
That I think you know what I'm about to say, which is if
Yeah.
you, yeah, okay.
Got it. So we actually also many times we actually do that kind of test while checking our like CPX based service mesh.
Absolutely, yeah. I have
Yeah.
talked to a couple people at Citrix about just that, because I've heard that. I actually, Diraj, I kind of get a smirk when I think about it, because it might be one of those things that Citrix blows. I just kind of anticipate that you guys might blow a few of the other service proxies out of the water, so to speak. That you would probably do pretty well in those comparative performance tests.
Yeah, we had like some numbers and we figured out like just for the Istio's performance benchmark thing, right? We did some we did some testing and we figured out that when we don't have mixer and all those things into the picture, we are bit more than I don't exactly have the number, but if I remember the graph was like that we were taking almost half the amount of time compared to the Envoy based Istio.
Yeah, I think I think we should be purposeful about a couple of things here, like with respect. So it's so Grish can. I'm gonna try to stop speaking so much because Grish is gonna more or less host the call here. But I'll say that it's long been on the agenda of this community and of Meshery to to provide any number of statistical analysis on various service mesh deployments, various service mesh configurations, various service proxies under different loads, under different environments, and we've have a long-standing commitment from the CNCF to be able to leverage their lab or that hardware to have kind of a consistent environment in which to do those tests. And for us, and actually, we've had any number of conversations with the Istio team, with the Linkerd team, with the console team, with the Octarine team, with most of with the especially the network service mesh team. They're pretty excited about doing a a third party, if you will, a vendor agnostic, in-depth analysis of performance characteristics of these different situations. I'm very much so gung ho about this. I'm in part for a bunch of reasons. One is we've been talking about it for a long time. We've given presentations. The last Garish gave a presentation last KubeCon EU about the cost of a mesh, and our objective here is manyfold. One, we've been asked that question time and time and time and time and time again, hundreds of times, and it's a really hard question to answer. It's an it depends thing, and so as such, there are many people. If you search Google, you'll find comparative performance analysis between Istio and Linkerd, most popularly, but between any of them, and I commend those that go down that path to do an analysis because it ain't easy, and that's in part what we're trying to make Meshery. We're trying to empower the layman, so to speak. We're trying to empower myself as a layman or what have you to just go grab a tool, quickly run it, have it perform the analysis, have it help you spin up various environments, and do that as you make your decision about what architecture to use, and then do that ongoing as your environments change, as you release new workloads or versions of your workloads, you deploy the next version of Istio or whatever mesh you're running, you're going to want to retest. And the other component to this is that each and every one of the posts that have been made about this topic are some are more so jaded and biased than others, and some are lesser so, but none of them have been essentially completely free and clear of being affiliated with a mesh and kind of leaning into showing off the saying that this mesh is the best or this proxy is the best. And for us here, our goal in doing it is to to rise the tide for all of the boats, for us to be able to say, look, here's to show off the best aspects of each of the meshes, to say maybe this one works better in this scenario, but not to say that any of them work poorly. We don't want to hide. If that's the case, we don't want to hide that. But my point is that it's agnostic, and so just hearing you speak to it, Diraj, I get all excited because it's been such a long-standing, more or less to-do item for us, and we're to a point now that Meshery, like we couldn't do it before, much like many other people, because there's so many variables. You've got to have nice and convenient tooling, and I think Meshery is about there. This is something that I'd love for us to do in earnest.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I'm digressing from the topic, but does Meshery in future going to support API gateways like Kong or Ambassador? Because I think they are eventually moving in the direction of providing the functionality of all the service meshes. So the like Nginx coming up with all the circuit breaking, the whitelisting, blacklisting, and then the routing, that, and then getting all the telemetry data along with Gong and Ambassador. So going forward, is there a plan to compare all these API gateways also, or the focus is only on service meshes?
There's an appetite for providing some of the same functionality for API gateways. The short answer is yes. Yes, let's do it. The longer answer is it takes many hands, or yes, let's go do it as fast as we can. And yeah, we kind of started on mesh. Ideally, the capabilities that are being written today, like the performance testing one, is a good example of hey, that stuff will work whether you're pointing Meshery at a service running on a service mesh, or a service running off of a mesh, or a service running, if you just point to google.com, just some HTTP endpoint. Hopefully soon it'll work for TCP endpoints and gRPC endpoints and NATS endpoints. And so, Chandresh, yes, we certainly desire for that to be the case, even to the extent that there's a nascent capability in Meshery today to be able to assess your service mesh configuration and tell you and compare your configuration against well-known best practices and right now Meshery does that for Istio. It runs about 9 to 10 configuration checks to confirm that your environment isn't wonky, so to speak. And so while those are Istio specific, the framework that's within Meshery is intended to be leveraged across API, other service meshes, API gateways, and so on. Yeah. There's a big old roadmap here to be even more forthright. I think, well, not forthright, but just to reiterate some things that I think I've said in the past, and that is that, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say it like this: that I'm really hopeful for the project. I'm hopeful that it makes a significant impact on anyone who's involved in it. We want to uplift each of you as you're spending time here and giving your time. Hopefully, you're taking away a lot of learnings, but in part, what I mean by this is that Meshery, to the extent that Meshery heads towards the CNCF, to the extent that it stands. So I didn't write this in the meeting minutes, but this year we'll be authoring another O'Reilly book on service mesh patterns or service mesh best practices, and part of that will be a focus on what we're just speaking about, like the cloud native networking is really hard for people, and cloud native networking is even more confusing. And we're hoping that a tool like Meshery can just help the world move on a bit, the world, people be more comfortable. It's going to take a lot of effort. Next week, so I'll parlay this answer, Chandresh, if I may, into just some of the announcements for the community meeting, and then kind of move on from there. And that's just to say that, well, one, and we've got some new community members. So Chandresh has been around for a little bit, but we haven't gotten a chance to embarrass him on a call yet. So this is great. And Manish is with us. This is great. And we may have some others as well. So very briefly, so I can stop talking, we can get on with some other things. It's just that we've been busy with a couple of presentations. We just, if some of you are familiar with the Docker Captains program, we just presented Meshery to a number of Docker Captains this last week. The deck is here if you're interested in seeing what that looks like. Next week, we'll be talking in Mountain View at a microservices meetup there, so just spreading the good word. Part of the point of tracking the fact that we're giving these presentations is to just let you guys know that your work is being represented, that if you've filled in a form here, that form, that Google Doc asks for your picture. And in the past, we've taken your pictures and put them in there for, these are the people contributing. And so if you don't want us to show your photo to people as a contributor, then please let us know. Please say something, because Moreover, the other reason I show these is to let you know that these decks, to the extent that some of you are submitting proposals to speak about Meshery or aspects of Meshery or service meshes or things that we're doing, all of the material here is open for you to use. Some of this material is already in the Meshery community team drive. If Please don't feel shy about using those material. Like those are there for your use, and if you want to change them, go ahead. If you need help with them, I'm happy to help. Or if you just want to see how your works are being represented, yeah. And so we'll be talking. I think right now we're only listed twice at KubeCon EU. I expect maybe another time or two that we would be talking. We'll be giving the workshops that some of you have become familiar with. We'll be giving it in June at what was formerly known as Velocity. We'll be giving it in July at OSCON. And then we'll actually be giving it, I didn't put the link up, I need to go find it, but there's 2 live online trainings that O'Reilly hosts that will be teaching people about service meshes through Meshery again. So lots and lots of word being spread about the works here. So with that, let me say, hey, those are the updates, and then hand the ball back to Girish.
Awesome. Yeah, great discussions, guys. Thanks a lot, Chandresh, for the great set of questions, and Dheeraj for jumping in. This is phenomenal. And now that we've actually covered most of the interesting topics that need to be discussed, let's hand off the ball to some of the demos. People are very interested in actually giving. I know Nuno doesn't have a complete demo that's based on discussion, but I'm pretty sure Nuno has something to show. So Nuno, if you want to actually grab the ball and show us whatever you have and talk about the rest, that will be phenomenal. You want to start?
Yeah, actually, I don't have something. That's the point.
Oh,
sorry for that.
No,
It's okay. It's okay.
That's all right. No problem.
Now, what I just wrote to Lee is I will actually, as a good courser that I am, I will hijack the developer meeting on Wednesday, and actually I will resume work from there. So I can also explain where I come from, and again, we have 2 passes. That's important to understand. We have the pass to try to adapt, let's say, the Meshery CTL approach with Docker. Okay, so that's one approach. And for that, definitively, we will need to use Docker app. Okay, that's just a given. Now, for the approach that I demoed 2 weeks ago for the in-cluster, Porter could be or should be, let's say, the best way forward also, because they have already what they call the mixins. So it's kind of add-ons that you can use on Porter, and so you can just consume the manifests that are already created. Okay, which brings me to the second point. Still a promise, but I will do it. I will start to do also the I don't know, Octarine or whatever other connector as the manifest. Okay, so remember today we have Istio and Linkerd alone only on the how do you say, on the Meshery repo for the in-cluster part. Okay, for the deployments. So after we show both ways. Then definitely for the in-cluster, it was also a topic that I wanted to touch base on that. Okay. Because my time is counted as usual, sorry, I will just jump ahead on one point that I wanted to talk quickly about demos. In March, I already stated that, but in March, there will be the WSL conference at Microsoft Reactor in Seattle. I will be there. I will be presenting actually MicroK tests, and of course, on top of MicroK tests, I need to show how to deploy an application, and the application chosen, of course, is my dear Meshery. So I will deploy Meshery during the demo, and I will show how it's connected. Remember how it's connected. That microcates. Sorry, that's the name in English. But microcates can actually detect that Meshery has done something, which is great. Girish, I will come back to you definitively, because the end is also to actually show like a deployment. It will be definitively Linkerd, because it was really the most compressed one. It was the fastest one. But I wanted really to show also like maybe the performance bit a little bit. It's a WSL conference, so I need to explain that everything works on WSL, of course. But if I can just showcase quickly microcates plus Meshery and a little bit of Linkerd, but I didn't say that. I will then showcase all that. My demo is like 90% prepared. I showed to the microcates this week. Guys, the developers, they really liked it. They provided just one good feedback. It's more an add-on feedback, so they really liked it. So I'm quite ready, but now I want to ensure that the end-to-end is also ready. That's why I'm taking a little bit of delay on all the tasks. I have like several blog posts, of course, to to adapt. Actually, I found a way to work finally better. GitHub Desktop, I didn't know about that, so I saw somewhere, and it helps me a lot. So I'm not really a GitHub guy. So the GitHub Desktop is definitely like the perfect tool to clone. And thanks Lee, because I saw like for the blog post that you did like the several steps on the documentation. I saw that. Thank you. I felt it. It was to me. I felt it was like directed to me. So I went through, and the GitHub Desktop actually is perfect because it really matched what you were explaining. Even though you are explaining it on command, of course, but the GitHub Desktop is just good for that. That's all from my side this week.
That's awesome.
That's phenomenal. Thanks a lot for the info, and yeah, and good luck for your presentation. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to me like on Slack anytime.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Prepared.
Awesome. The next person on the list of demos is Nupur. So Nupur actually, if I remember correctly, I think she and her team at the university where she is studying, they prepared a demo for a hackathon, and I had actually asked her to give the same demo here because she's going to be demoing a new technology, which is Flutter. I hope you guys would have heard about it. It is a framework from Google, for like a unified front-end development across devices. So Nupur said that she has something ready for showing. I think she also said it might not be complete, but I've asked her to give us the demo because it'll definitely be interesting for us to actually know or learn about her journey. So Nupur, are you ready for the demo?
Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm ready. I just wanted to know everybody before that I cannot show the application interface right now because everything is not yet integrated. I can just explain things, the idea on which I worked, what were the plans, and why I chose this particular problem statement, and everything regarding my idea. So, from 25th to 26th, I went for a hackathon in a university, which was organized by Google Developers Community, sponsored by Amazon Alexa. So there were multiple problem statements, and one of the problem statement which really got my attention was improving the mental health of the user using the social media information of that specific user. So for that, we created an application, mobile application, because that was one hack which we were supposed to use. So the name of the application was Recontent. The tagline was reconnecting with your happiness. And the thought behind developing an application was to learn new things. The purpose of going to that hackathon was definitely not to win with the technologies I already know, but to learn something which is out of my domain currently. So initially, I'll give a brief introduction of what we did, and then I'll move forward with what was the actual code. So there were obviously in any application there are two things: front end and back end. So for front end we used Flutter. Flutter is something. Let's give an example. Like there's a language called Dart developed by Google, and Flutter is an SDK to develop that code for Dart language. So that was for the front end. It's easier to develop an language using Flutter, and for backend we used Python, most of it. So for for improving the mental health of a user, first what is necessary to extract the information about the social media activities what a person is doing. Supposingly I'm really happy today, so I will look for the places to party with my friends. And if I am sad today, or I really don't have anything to do today, so I will Google that how can I make my day happy. So this kind of Google search is really helpful for uh, for monitoring the mood of the user. And the purpose of app was to not just discover the mood, but to help. So to help if a person is depressed, so there were three things which we initially thought to do. One is to give if a person is depressed, the first thing a person should start doing is self love. So for that, affirmation is really required. So a thought was put on that a push notification should be given to the user every day in the morning to write at least three good things about themselves, or just one good thing, whatever number, that is not the priority, but at least something good thing for the affirmation. So that was one thing which was to improve. Another was to like in India there is this uh, guru or social worker who like if you subscribe to his channel, he sends emails to the people every day about some good thoughts written by him or something like that. So why not every day send some motivational articles to the users? So that is how we were planning to give help to depressed people, and putting YouTube videos on the app, and giving spiritual or providing spiritual music on the application. So that were the main points to help, and that's the backend to extract the data. And there were multiple future plans as well, which we will discuss later. So the code which is done up till now is on my GitHub profile. So first I'll be explaining the front end up till which we were able to reach in the 2 days time span. So in the front end, okay, so this application was developed on and using IDE Android Studio, and there is this structure of how a front end application using Flutter should be developed. In this folder called lib, the main code is, and why Flutter is a good platform to develop an application. One of the good reason is that if you are developing a mobile application, you need not to develop two different applications for iOS and Android. One single application can work on iOS and Android, both mobile applications, one single code. So if you see that there are folder for iOS and there is one folder for Android, if some specific code should be different for both of them, you can define the changes here only. So I will move forward to the source code. So now this main Dart file will call all the functions which have been written. So when you develop a Flutter app, the main thing you should try to do is make your main file as short as possible to make your code easy to understand. So this package import flutter material.dart file is to import all, like this is a Flutter package which have all the initial functionality of an application. Just by importing that, you can uh, develop an application by using some classes from this library. So one of the class we are using is stateless widget. And if you see this file, this is the file which is present in the app screen module. In the app screen, as the name suggests of the folder, it includes all the screens which we are going to integrate, or all the functionalities which we are going to integrate in our mobile application. So I don't want to go into the details of it, but in this we are just defining what is the size of the application we want, what will be returned as a welcome node. And okay, so in Flutter everything works under a class. Whatever you write, mostly it's written under a class and subclass, and that's how everything goes on. That is one good thing about it. So the data inside it is always sorted. So is everyone getting my point, or am I just talking without anyone?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's actually I heard about this Flutter thing, uh, many companies are using in Bangalore we call Bounce. If you heard about the Bounce app, right?
Yeah.
They're also using it, and most of them are using React Native. If you can search a little bit about React Native, it will be very good.
Okay, I will definitely search for it. So there are multiple components which we use in the class, and for I cannot show you the mobile application right now, but these were the things we were planning to keep on the screen. This animated float button will be one add button on the app. By clicking on that, you can add affirmation about yourself, and multiple by the name of the file you can understand what they are doing. And this help file is to give a help button in the to uh, at the home page. By clicking on that, you can get the contact numbers of consultant or psychologist which can help you if you are depressed. So this is all about the front end we worked on, and we can now I'll be moving forward with the data extraction up till where we would have up to where I could reach. So the first data extraction that we did is so the first thing I will be telling is how I extracted the data from Twitter. So it's like really simple. By going to developer.twitter.com for a specific application, I developed the customer key secret secret access token secret. You can develop it for your application. And then I imported Twippy library, which helps to extract data from Twitter. And then by getting the authorization first, and then creating the interface for a specific screen name, I extracted the full data of it, but we can filter it out. Here I'm just showing you all that how we extracted the data. So whenever a user will give us the username, currently is just static. We will replace it by the username of the person who is logging into the application. So that's how we extracted data from Twitter. And for extracting the Google search data, I personally found it pretty tricky on that day because there were no proper Google API to extract the Google history of the user. maybe because of the privacy issues. I did not find anything, but then there is one way by which we were able to do it. Initially, I tried for Linux only. Like, there is a specific path in which the Google history of a machine for any uh, web application like Chrome gets stored. So for Google Chrome, the path is this. So it's in a database format. So we need SQLite 3 to read that, and then we can read the data. So by this query, we selected the date and the URL which was searched. I think this query is not complete. I will show it from my local data.
Nupur, while you are in the context, like, I mean, we were making fun, like, in the chat, but honestly, like, you shouldn't be committing your Twitter, credentials onto GitHub, because, the source code is public and people can actually misuse your credentials. So,
Okay, you change the credentials after uploading it on Google. Like, now they're just fake credentials.
Okay.
They're not the right
Good.
credentials.
Good. Yeah, that's fantastic. Cool. Yeah, I'm so, Nupur, sorry. Given the time, I mean, is there anything specific, like, you want to finish it off with? Because, like, we only have, like, less than 10 minutes. So, I thought, like, it would be nice to actually give the ball to Raj.
Okay, it's just the last point I'm summing it up.
Awesome. Yeah, cool.
So by doing that, I extracted the data from Linux platform, and so on. We can do it for multiple platforms. And first we stored that data, and then we developed a model to do the sentiment analysis. And on the basis of that, we will show the pie charts for every day on the screen. How is the mood of the person? And that is all about the backend. And currently, that's all we have done in the backend and the front end thing. We will be expanding the horizons of it after some time. That's all about the demo.
Awesome. I mean, it's impressive to actually see the amount of work you guys have done in 2 days. That's great. Of course, like, you guys have, like, some loose ends to tie off, but, like, hopefully, I'm pretty sure, like, you'll be able to finish it off, like, in the near future. This is great. Like, a great start, great learning. And the reason why, like, we were exploring, like, Flutter is actually that, I mean, it's an interesting option for us to actually move forward with, if it definitely brings a lot more goodies, like, than the frameworks we have chosen. So, which is actually the reason why, like, we feel that, like, this is like a wonderful start for us. Awesome work, Nupur. Any questions for Nupur, guys? Awesome. Raj, do you want to grab the ball? Let's see what we can, yeah, I know, I understand, like, you need 10 to 15 minutes. I'm giving you like 11 minutes, so let's see how far we can go.
I'll cover it. Yeah, sure. Should I share my screen?
Please.
Yes, please. Yeah, go grab it, bro.
So hopefully my screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So this demo is basically on the kiosk engineering. So in the earlier meeting, we had discussing about the kiosk engineering. How can we perform kiosks on the service mesh? That as Chandresh has a good question that their team is very confusing about choosing the like Linkerd or Istio. So for that, I would prefer to do some kiosks on the both of the platform and check the fault resiliency of both the systems. And if you like the whichever the platform you like, then you can go for it. So basically, I will explain. So before going, I'll explain what is kiosk engine, because some of the peoples here don't know about kiosk engine. A little bit I will give an introduction to kiosk engineering. So kiosk engineering is basically, for example, like you have a startup and you starting
started building a new app. So initially you didn't thought about I'll get that much amount of user, and you deploy your SQL and backend services in the Kubernetes cluster. And initially you have some few replicas, like say 2 replicas, and suddenly your app become famous, and user are coming. Then suddenly you get to know that your replicas are crashing. So this is the actual failures on the productions. So you have to deal with it very seriously. So here chaos engineering comes and help you. These are a few of the terms I collected it from the internet, like finding failures before the actual event occur. So as I said that the failure of any pod will be a situation which will occur in the production. So we break things on purpose. That is called chaos engineering. If you heard about Netflix have similar kind of thing called chaos monkey. To do some chaos on EC2, Amazon EC2. So similar thing, they break things on purpose, and it is done on the production. Before production, we have the testing stage, and many platforms. So we test it before going to the production. And software is able to tolerate the failures, and we are ensuring that all the services and application is working fine, and to build the software some confidence. So that is a little bit introduction to the chaos engineering. These are some of the kiosks we can have. uh, Lee has sent me some documentation where he wants some network kiosks, right Lee?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah. There's similar kind of app called Pumba. So this tool called Pumba, where you can inject some kiosk. We are also using this library in our Litmus. So these are some of the CPU utilization, like you intentionally hike the CPU of the VM to check if all the apps are running or not. And like disk loss, you remove some disk, like attached EBS disk from a EC2 instance, and like disk utilizer, continuously writing some dummy data to a disk and check the disk utilization. And the network loss and network delay, I will talk about it later on the session. So these are some of the points. I think we have shortage of time, so I will uh, keep it very fast. So this is some of the product of chaos engineering. Like Gremlin is the biggest product in the market, and where the difference of Gremlin and Litmus is we are open source, fully open source. So this are some of the products of open source, but Gremlin is not a fully open source product. So in this session, I will show a demo how to inject some kiosks using Litmus. So these are some of the points that you can learn from the Google. If you go to the principles of kiosk, yeah, you can learn this what is kiosk engineering and all the steps. So moving forward to a demo, I will show you a demo of CodeDNS. If you heard about CodeDNS, CodeDNS is developed by Google by an SRE, by SRE. So what it does is it manages the DNS management thing. So in Kubernetes also, instead of kube DNS, we can use core DNS. If you see in Minikube, like we have core DNS. So core DNS is the functionality which have like similar kind of DNS management thing in Kubernetes. So the main function we gonna test is if any pod exposed and have a service, is it resilient if core DNS goes down? So that is the test we are going to do. If it is goes down, then service will fail to curl. So in this demo, I will show you some charts. This is a chart hub of chaos engineering on Kubernetes. Here, some of the charts are Kafka charts, OpenEVS charts, and total there are 19 experiments. And from here, we gonna pick one core DNS chart. So before that, we have to install Litmus on our Kubernetes system. I'm using Minikube for this demo. You can use GKE or OpenShift on-prem also. Yeah. So installing Litmus, I already installed, I think. Is my terminal visible?
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah. Thanks. So Litmus is installed. So steps are like first we have to install the Litmus. These are some operators and CRDs. So you have to install before injecting some kiosks. So if you go to then chart hub, then pick one chart. Currently in coordinates we have only one chart. This chart is contributed by me. So if you install the chart, it is already installed, I think. Yeah, already installed. So first thing that we have some operator running in the Litmus namespace. So this is the operator. So the main component is the kiosk engine. So before injecting the kiosk, I want to show you a diagram. So this is the kiosk diagram. This is a flow chart. So this flowchart having different components and how Litmus is going to be injecting on CodeNS. So the main component is like this. There will be an Nginx pod which is exposed, and liveness pod will be continuously seeing that Nginx pod. If CodeNS goes down, is it available after CodeNS pod goes down? So we'll check that resiliency. So here, so this is the experiment code DNS pod delete. And before that, we have to install some RBACs. RBACs are the permissions file. So these are some of the permissions file, like we are giving minimal permission to run the experiments, like services pod, job, kiosk engine, kiosk experiment, kiosk result. We're going to apply this. So it is applied. So after that, we have similar kind of thing, a kiosk engine. So kiosk engine will use that permission, and it has some tunables where you can pass the things like it is a deployment. So kubedns code DNS has some label called KTS app, and this thing, and how much kiosk duration you want to mention, like 30-second. I am and to inject some kiosk to check the resiliency of the code DNS pod. So kiosk interval is like we have two pods in code DNS. So the time the pod failure between one pod and another pod is called the kiosk duration, the time. And it is an infrastructure level kiosk, and these are some of the tunables, like it is in a kube system namespace and some labels, and it is a deployment kind, and these are some runners and service account. We are using that earlier service account which we have created. This is a code DNS service account. So I'm going to apply. I think we have already kiosk engine. 1 second. Yeah, it is not there. So I'm going to apply the kiosk engine. Before that, I want to split the screen so you can. Yeah. So here the pods are here. I'm going to make a watch. Here you can see that the Nginx. This is a runner.
And Raj, is there a visual interface within Litmus Chaos?
Visual interface, yeah, it is there, but we are developing that. It is not on production. Like we're still developing that kind of. You want like something like a visual interface that you can inject some kiosk from the UI. Is it?
Or just something that shows what what's happening, like.
Yeah, visual. We can see like this is the Nginx app. So I'm going to little bit. I know a little bit difficult to understand, but due to shortage of time, sorry.
Sure.
So this liveness app is calling this Nginx service. So between the pod goes down, like you can see that the first pod goes down is 17 seconds ago, and it is resilient.
Another quick question, Raj. Of the flowchart
Yeah,
that you have in the background,
yeah,
that's not auto-generated based on the.
yeah. No, it is not auto generated.
Okay. And out of curiosity, what software did you use to create the?
Lucid chat, yeah, Lucid chat,
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah. So container has been deleted. If you see the kiosk result, so it is resilient because another pod is running. You can see the another pod is running, but one of the random pod is getting killed, but it is resilient to that kiosk. So if you go to see the kiosk result, there's similar kind of thing. If you go to the kiosk result, there's some of the terms you don't understand in this demo, but I prefer to go to the docs. In short demo, not able to understand explain all the things. Yeah, so if you see that it is passed, so this is the coordinates and it is passed to this resiliency. In this demo, that's all I want to explain. Go to the docs. We have a similar kind of video created for all the experiments in our YouTube channel, and this is a hub. If you want some of the experiments, you can go to it. And Lee, you were asking about the network loss kiosk.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are some of the charts you can use. You can go to the hub, like pod network loss and latency. You can drop some of the packets between a pod and a PVC.
That's great. And you were saying that that's using Pumbaa.
Yeah, that's using Pumbaa library. We are also developing our own library in containerd.
Oh, I see.
So Pumbaa is basically on Docker container.
Man, this is great. Actually, this is a good question. And I don't know
Yeah,
if
any question here? Yeah.
I don't know if Chaim is still on the call or not, but or if anyone else can answer this. Can anyone remind me what in the latest Kubernetes, what's the default container runtime? That
I think it's in Kubernetes.
yeah.
I think it is containerd. They are using containerd.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
Maybe
think it is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but yeah. So, any questions from the community?
Great demo, Raj. You know, this is great. Like, you pretty much nailed it on time.
Yeah.
Hey,
But yeah,
Raj,
great. Like, this was very educational, actually. Yeah, excellent. Like, I've not seen this one in live action. So, you pretty much helped me understand that like today. So this is great.
If I get time, this is shortage of time, so I didn't explain a lot of the things. But you can go to the docs and you can. We have a channel in the Kubernetes, so you can ask. If you want some charts, it's a fully open source community, so you can ask some charts from our community also.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And yeah, and Raj, of the things that we continue to brainstorm in that doc, one of those things that we might want to consider is from the perspective of an integration of Meshery and Litmus Chaos.
Yeah. Actually, I'm also trying to find some kiosks where we can, like Istio kiosk is the one I'm working on it.
Nice.
I want some failure test cases for the Istio. So if it all goes well, we can have one Istio chart here.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want any charts from Meshery, you can raise some issues.
Okay, nice. Awesome. For my part, I'm tardy by 5 minutes to another call, but I
Yeah, sure.
didn't want to drop during this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I'm stopping the presentation. Already stopped. Yeah, stopped.
So I'm gonna abruptly drop, but just say this is. I love the fact that we've got more demos than we can fit in. So this is great. I'll see. For my part, I'll see you guys shortly. I'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys. We are pretty
Yeah,
much 6 minutes past the time, and thanks a lot for all the demos. Sessions was, I mean, they were all like wonderful, very enlightening. See you all.